Hey guys, tonight we're going to travel back in time, way back, to a place of brutal, unending cold. We're journeying to the ancient Arctic to understand how the first people to settle that impossible landscape managed to find dinner. Imagine a world sculpted from ice and wind, where the very air you breathe feels like a physical blow to the chest, and the horizon is just a white line separating a white earth from a white sky. You're standing at the edge of human endurance, and your stomach is rumbling. It's a place where the concept of a grocery store is so far in the future, it might as well be alien technology. Frankly, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love to see where and when you're tuning in from, so drop your location and local time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world is a vast frozen steppe. You and your small family group have been walking for generations, a slow, meandering tide of humanity flowing east across a land that no longer exists. You know it as Beringia, a wide, windswept bridge of earth connecting the continents. The modern world will one day know it as the bottom of the sea, but for you, it is simply home, a home that is trying to kill you every single second. The cold is a living entity, a predator that stalks your every move. It seeps through the stitched seams of your animal hide clothing, numbs your fingers until they feel like clumsy stones, and paints a rime of ice on your eyelashes. There is no weather forecast to check, no app to tell you if the wind chill will be deadly. There's only the wind, and it never ever stops. Your life is governed by a simple, brutal rhythm: walk, hunt, shiver, repeat. For weeks, the hunt has failed. The great woolly mammoths, with their mountains of meat and fat, have vanished over the horizon. The fleet-footed horses and hulking steppe bison have proven too elusive for your tired hunters. Hunger has become your constant companion, a dull, aching hollowness in your belly that sharpens into a fierce, gnawing pain. You trudge onward, your feet wrapped in furs, the crunch of the frozen earth beneath you the only sound besides the howl of the wind. You're not just tired. You're a special kind of exhausted that only comes from prolonged starvation and sub-zero temperatures. It's less of a feeling and more of a state of being. Then a shape on the horizon, not moving. A dark lump against the endless white. Hope, a dangerous and often foolish emotion, flickers in your chest. As you draw closer, the shape resolves into the body of a caribou, half buried in a snowdrift. It's long dead, frozen solid as the rocks around it. A windfall. A miracle. There's no wood for a proper fire here on the open tundra, and what little scrub you might find would be ripped away by the wind. So, you won't be cooking this meal? You and your companions fall upon the carcass with stone hand axes and flint blades. It's less like butchery and more like quarrying. You hack and chip away at the frozen flesh, sending splinters of icy meat skittering across the snow. You pop a small crimson shard into your mouth. It's so cold it burns, and you let it rest on your tongue, the faint warmth of your body slowly, painstakingly thawing it. There's no complex flavor, just the simple metallic taste of blood and the dense texture of raw muscle. It's not a pleasant experience, but it's fuel. The real treasure, however, lies deeper. With a series of heavy, coordinated blows from a large stone, one of the hunters shatters a thick leg bone. Inside is the marrow. It's a column of pure, frozen fat. You're handed a piece, and it feels like holding a cold candle. This is the Paleolithic equivalent of an energy bar, a concentrated blast of calories that your body desperately craves. It's greasy, waxy, and utterly life-saving. Historians still argue whether the first peoples to cross this bridge were specialized big game hunters or more flexible opportunists. But tonight, huddled against the wind, gnawing on a frozen bone, you are proof that survival often means taking what the land gives you, no matter how harsh the offering. This isn't a gourmet meal. It's the grim, necessary calculus of life at the top of the world. And as the last of the frozen marrow melts away, you know the search for the next meal begins again with the first light. The memory of that frozen caribou fades into the gnawing ache of renewed hunger. Your journey has continued, but the landscape has changed. The endless, rolling plains of the land bridge have given way to a coastline of fractured rock and jagged ice. For the first time, you encounter a force of nature that is not frozen solid. The sea. It's a terrifying, heaving mass of dark gray water, breathing in and out with a rhythm that seems impossibly ancient. Great sheets of ice grind against the shore, and the air, for the first time in your memory, carries a new smell beneath the familiar scent of cold, the sharp, briny tang of salt. This is the end of the road. Or perhaps the beginning of a new one. Your skills as a plains hunter, your intimate knowledge of bison herds and mammoth tracks are suddenly obsolete. The land behind you is a frozen desert, but the water before you, it's alive. One day, as you huddle behind a rock outcropping, sheltering from a wind that carries tiny needles of ice, you see it. A sleek, dark head, round and whiskered, pops out of the water not 30 feet from you. It has eyes as black and deep as the water it came from. The creature regards you for a long moment, its expression unreadable, before it vanishes with a silent slip beneath the surface. This is your introduction to the Great Sea Mammal Pantry. It's the world's biggest, coldest, and most dangerous deli counter, and it's just open for business. There is no menu, there are no friendly staff, and everything on offer is scaled for a giant. Your mind, accustomed to four-legged prey on solid ground, struggles to comprehend the sheer biomass living just beneath the ice. You begin to learn the new inhabitants of your world. There are the seals, the common currency of the coast. You see them basking on ice floes, their fat, sausage-like bodies looking deceptively lazy. But you also see the explosive speed with which they can disappear into the water at the slightest sign of danger. Then there are the walruses, hulking beasts with formidable tusks that could skewer a man as easily as you might spear a fish. They travel in noisy, odorous colonies, their roars and barks echoing across the ice. And then there is the whale. The first time you see one, it changes your perception of reality. A dark mountain rises from the deep, a sound like a giant sigh as it expels a plume of mist into the frigid air, and then it is gone, leaving behind only a ripple on the vast ocean. A single one of these creatures, you realize, could feed your entire band of people for a winter. It's as if a hill decided to go for a swim, and its capture represents a lottery win of unimaginable proportions. This is a world of fat. On the frozen plains, fat was a precious commodity, a rare burst of energy. Here, it is the foundation of everything. You're witnessing and beginning to participate in one of the most significant shifts in human history, the transition to a marine-based economy. Archaeologists debate how quickly your ancestors abandoned their old hunting traditions for this new, marine-focused life. Was it an immediate, desperate plunge, or a gradual adaptation over centuries? For you, it feels like a choice between starving on the land or taking your chances with the sea. The blubber from these animals is a miracle substance. It's a high-octane fuel for your body, a slow-burning fire that will help you fend off the lethal, ever-present cold. When rendered into oil, It will fuel the small stone lamps that will be your only source of light during the endless, sunless months of the polar night. It is food, light, and heat, all wrapped in a thick, greasy, life-sustaining package. Unfortunately, the inhabitants of this pantry are notoriously uncooperative. Their world is one of sound and pressure, a place of crushing darkness you cannot enter. You learn that whales and seals possess a sense of hearing that is almost magical, communicating across vast, dark distances with clicks and songs. You are the clumsy, surface-dwelling predator, and to succeed, you will have to become a master of this new, treacherous environment. The age of chasing mammoths is over. The age of the harpoon is about to begin. The age of the harpoon is here, and it has delivered. You're not sure if the creature was hunted with daring and skill in skin boats, or if it was a gift from the sea, a drift whale that washed ashore in a storm. Archaeologists still debate the significance of drift whales versus actively hunted whales for early coastal communities, arguing about when your people developed the technology and audacity to chase down the largest mammals on Earth. Frankly, you don't care about the distinction. All you know is that a mountain of life-sustaining meat and fat is lying on the gravel beach, and the entire world is turned out for the occasion. It's the single greatest event your people will experience this year, perhaps this decade. This is not a hunt. This is a harvest. The sheer scale of the whale is difficult for your mind to process. It is less an animal and more a feature of the landscape, a temporary hill of black skin and blubber. You, who felt so significant trekking across the land bridge, now feel like an insect crawling on a giant. The air is thick with the coppery smell of blood and the rich, oily scent of blubber mingling with the salt of the sea. There is no quiet reverence here. The scene is one of joyous, frantic, and organized chaos. It's a combination of a community festival and the world's most demanding demolition job. Everyone has a role. The strongest men, armed with large, heavy stone cleavers and sharp flint knives, are perched precariously on the whale's slippery back. They lean into their work, hacking deep grooves into the thick blubber, their grunts and shouts punctuated by the wet, percussive chunk of stone on flesh. You're a part of a team on the ground, men and women armed with long bone hooks and thick ropes of walrus hide. As the men above free a great slab of blubber, your group digs in your heels, pulling with all your collective might. The slab, weighing hundreds of pounds, peels away from the muscle with a sickening, tearing sound and slides down the creature's side to the beach below. The ground is slick with oil, and more than once, someone loses their footing and goes down with a curse and a laugh, coated head to toe in grease. The work is exhausting, a full-body workout that leaves every muscle screaming. But the energy is infectious. Children, too small to help with the heavy work, dart in and out, carrying smaller pieces of meat back to the camp. The elderly sit nearby, their experienced hands sharpening dulled stone blades on sandstone, ensuring the work never has to stop. It's the Paleo-era version of a barn raising, except what you're raising is your chance of surviving the winter. The prize is the blubber. It's the coal, the gasoline, and the savings account of your people. But today, the delicacy is the skin. One of the hunters carves off a small, rubbery-looking piece and hands it to you. It's a layer of black skin attached to a layer of pinkish-white fat. This is mukdak. You're hesitant, but the hunger that has been your lifelong companion urges you on. You put it in your mouth. The texture is the first thing you notice, a strange, satisfying chewiness from the skin, followed by the soft, almost buttery fat that melts on your tongue. The taste is subtle, a little nutty, a little bit like the ocean itself. It's surprisingly good. You will learn later that this single food, eaten raw, is one of your primary sources of vitamin C, the nutrient that wards off the mysterious and deadly disease that makes your gums bleed and your joints ache. By the time the low-hanging sun begins to touch the horizon, the scene is one of beautiful devastation. The whale is now a colossal ribcage, its great bones arching into the sky like the ruins of some ancient temple. The beach is a hive of activity, with families dragging their share back to their dwellings. You are exhausted, sore, and covered in a film of grease that will take days to wear off. But for the first time in what feels like an eternity, your belly is full, truly, deeply full. There is a sense of profound security, of a wealth that cannot be measured in anything but time. The whale has given you months. Months of light for the long dark, months of heat for the killing cold, and months of food for the empty days ahead. The profound, bone-deep satisfaction of the whale feast lingers, but it's a warmth you can't afford to get used to. The whale was a windfall, a communal jackpot that filled the larders and secured the future. But life isn't lived in the future. It's lived in the day-to-day, the constant, grinding present. And in the present, you need a reliable source of income. You need the Arctic's equivalent of a weekly paycheck. You need the seal. If the whale was a mountain, the seal is a perfectly shaped, life-sustaining stone that fits right in your hand. It's the creature that weaves itself into every single aspect of your existence, from the food in your belly to the boots on your feet and the light in your home. Forget those fancy red multi-tools from the future. The seal is the original Swiss Army knife, and you're about to become an expert in its use. The hunt is nothing like the chaotic, communal butchery of the whale. This is a solitary, meditative art. You are lying perfectly still on a vast, flat expanse of sea ice. The world has been bleached of all color and sound. There's only the white of the ice, the gray of the sky, and the soft hiss of your own breath. You are positioned beside a small, almost imperceptible hole in the ice, no bigger than your fist. This is a seal's breathing hole, one of several it maintains in its underwater territory. Your weapon is a harpoon, its shaft of driftwood smooth and familiar in your fur-mitted hands, its sharp bone point tethered to a long line of braided sinew. And now, you wait. This is the essence of the hunt, a profound and patient stillness. You become part of the landscape, another lump of snow on the ice. Your mind drifts. You think about the stories of the elders, you think about the warmth of the communal dwelling, you think about nothing at all. You just are. Hours pass. The cold, which was once a sharp bite, has become a dull, pervasive ache that you have learned to ignore. Then you hear it, a faint, wet, puffing sound from the hole. The seal has arrived. A tiny wisp of vapor, like a ghost's last breath, hangs in the air for a second. This is your only signal. There's no time for thought, only for perfectly rehearsed action. In a single fluid motion, you rise from your prone position and drive the harpoon downward into the hole. There's a solid thud, followed by a frantic, powerful thrashing from beneath the ice. The sinew line goes taut, zipping through your hands and threatening to burn them, even through the thick fur. You brace yourself, digging your heels in, your body acting as an anchor against the desperate, muscular panic of the animal below. Eventually, the struggling subsides. With a final, strenuous effort, you haul your prize up onto the ice. It's a ringed seal, a beautiful creature with a coat of silver-gray fur patterned with dark circles. Its dark, liquid eyes seem to hold a deep and ancient sadness. You take a moment, a brief silent acknowledgement of the life you have taken so that yours may continue. Then the work begins. Here, on the ice, you perform a rough but efficient butchery. The real treasure, for immediate purposes, is the blubber. A thick, insulating layer of pure white fat lies just beneath the skin. You cut it away in strips, along with the rich, dark meat. The liver, warm and steaming in the frigid air, is the hunter's reward. You eat a piece right there on the spot. It's incredibly rich, with a strong, irony flavor that floods your system with warmth and a cocktail of essential vitamins. Back up at camp, not a single part of the seal will be wasted. The meat and blubber are shared, the lifeblood of the community. The skin, once scraped and cured by the women, will become waterproof boots, durable clothing, and even the translucent window for your winter dwelling, stretched gut skin that lets in the faint light. The bones will be shaped into tools, sharp needles for sewing, wicked little barbs for fish hooks, and new heads for the harpoons. Even the intestines will be cleaned, inflated, and dried, creating a surprisingly strong and waterproof material perfect for a light parka. Archaeologists still discuss the evolution of harpoon technology, debating whether certain intricate designs were for specific types of seals or for coping with varying ice conditions. For you, the technology is simple. It works. As night falls, you huddle inside your home, the only light and heat coming from a shallow, crescent-shaped stone lamp. Its fuel, the rendered oil from the seal's blubber. Its wick, a bit of dried moss. The small, smoky flame dances, pushing back the immense, crushing darkness of the Arctic. It is the light of the seal. You are eating the seal, wearing the seal, and reading the world by its light. It is your entire universe, contained in one sleek, fat, and utterly indispensable package. The light of the seal is now your sun, your moon, and your stars. The real sun dipped below the horizon weeks ago, a brief, spectacular smear of orange and purple that felt like a final goodbye. It will not return for months. This is the great dark, the polar night. Time itself seems to dissolve, losing its rhythm. There is no dawn or dusk to mark the days, only the cycle of sleeping and waking, governed by the needs of your body and the flicker of the lamp. The world has shrunk to the small, warm, smoky circle of your semi-subterranean home, a space dug into the earth and roofed with driftwood and whalebones. Outside, a universe of absolute blackness and crushing cold reigns supreme. But hunger does not hibernate. The stores of whale and seal are a blessing, but they are finite. And more importantly, your body craves fresh food. So you must venture out into the twilight land, not for a grand hunt, but for a slow, patient, and utterly vital harvest from the world beneath your feet. You're going fishing. Forget any image you have of a lazy summer afternoon by a babbling brook. This is an act of profound concentration, a battle of wits fought against an opponent you cannot see in a world you cannot enter. First, there is the matter of the hole. You walk out onto the sea ice, your path lit by the greasy flame of a handheld seal oil lamp. The ice is now many feet thick, a solid, unyielding barrier between you and the water below. You find a promising spot, perhaps a place where currents keep the ice a little thinner, and you begin to chip. Your tool is a long, heavy piece of antler or walrus tusk, sharpened to a chisel point. It is brutal, mind-numbing work. Chip, chip, chip. You scoop out the icy slush with a ladle carved from bone. Your arms ache, your back screams, and the cold seeps into your very bones. It might take you an hour or more to punch a small window through the floor of your world. Then you set up your humble rig. There is no rod, no reel, no fancy sonar to show you what's below. There's only a line, carefully braided from the sinew of a caribou's leg, and a lure. This is where the artistry lies. Your lure is not a simple hook. It's a small, fish-shaped piece of polished walrus ivory, carved with a subtle, elegant curve. A tiny feather from a summer seabird is attached to give it a bit of life. It's designed to catch the faint, ghostly light that penetrates the ice from the moon or stars, or even the glow from your own lamp, and flutter seductively in the dark water. Archaeologists and anthropologists still debate the exact techniques used to attract fish in the near total darkness, questioning whether sound, scent, or subtle movement was the primary lure. You, however, know that this little piece of ivory, jigged with just the right gentle rhythmic motion, works. You drop the line into the black water, unspooling it until you feel it reach the desired depth. You kneel over the hole, a thick caribou hide insulating you from the ice. To be truly effective, you must have a direct connection to the line. You slip off your fur mitten and hold the delicate sinew between your bare thumb and forefinger. The cold is immediate and shocking, a pain that quickly fades to a dangerous numbness. But this sensitivity is crucial. You close your eyes, shutting out the hypnotic flicker of the lamp, and you focus everything on that single point of contact. It's a form of meditation. Your entire universe is the feeling of the sinew on your fingertips. You feel the gentle sway of the current, the slight drag of the lure. For long stretches, there is nothing. It's the Stone Age equivalent of staring at a loading screen, an exercise in pure, unadulterated patience. Then you feel it. Not a yank, not a pull, but a subtle electric tap-tap. It's a ghost knock from another dimension. Adrenaline, warm and sharp, floods your system. You give the line a sharp upward jerk to set the hook, and suddenly the line is alive, thrashing and pulling against your fingers. You pull it in, hand over hand, a frantic, exciting race against the fish's struggle. A shape emerges from the hole, a flash of silver and pink in the lamplight. It's an Arctic char, fat and beautiful, its body a testament to the life that thrives even under this frozen ceiling. You dispatch it quickly with a knock to the head. It's not a whale or even a seal. It may only be a meal for one or two people, but as it lies there, steaming slightly on the ice, it is a perfect, hard-won victory against the overwhelming dark. It is a reminder that even in the dead of winter, if you are patient enough to listen, the world beneath the ice will answer. The victory of the Arctic char, a small triumph against the dark, is repeated again and again until it becomes a rhythm that carries you through the endless night. But then something changes. At first, it's just a feeling, a subtle shift in the quality of the darkness. Then, one day, the horizon to the south glows with a faint pearlescent blue for a few minutes. The next cycle, it's a smear of pale lemon yellow that lingers for an hour. And then, one momentous day, the top curve of the sun itself breaches the horizon, a sliver of impossible, painful brightness. It's the first direct sunlight you have seen in months, and it feels like a physical touch, a warmth that penetrates your many layers of furs and seems to reach the very marrow of your bones. The great dark is over. The world is being reborn. What follows is a period of chaotic, beautiful, and noisy transformation. The world begins to weep. Water, a substance that has existed for months only as a solid, unforgiving rock, is suddenly everywhere. It drips from the roof of your dwelling, trickles in rivulets across the land, and roars in great torrents as frozen rivers break free of their icy chains. The seemingly permanent sea ice fractures with sounds like thunder, great plates grinding against each other before being carried away by the currents. The land, which has been a uniform white, slowly reveals its true face, a rolling landscape of muted brown and gray, dotted with ancient lichen-covered rocks. And with the water and the light comes life, an explosion of it, an invading army of life that swarms in to reclaim the thawed land. The first sign is the noise. After the profound, muffled silence of the winter, the air is suddenly filled with a cacophony of cries, honks, and shrieks. The birds have returned. They come in numbers that stagger the imagination, great flocks of eider ducks, snow geese, murres, and auks. They darken the sky as they arrive. settling on the newly opened coastal waters and the sheer rock cliffs that have become their seasonal apartment blocks. For you, this is not a time for quiet bird watching. This is the sound of a buffet opening for business. You and the other hunters use everything at your disposal. You might use a bola, a simple but effective weapon of several stones tied together with sinew, which you whirl and throw into a dense flock of low-flying birds, hoping to entangle wings and necks. For the birds nesting on impossibly high cliff faces, the hunt is a precarious vertical affair, involving risky climbs to snatch birds and their precious eggs directly from the nests. And the eggs. It's a treasure hunt for the entire community. You scramble over the rocky terrain, your eyes scanning for the subtle camouflage of a nest. Finding a clutch of a dozen large, speckled myrrh eggs is like striking gold. They are a perfect food, packed with rich, fatty yolks that taste of the sea. You eat them raw, hard-boiled in water heated with hot stones, or mixed with rendered seal fat to create a sort of primordial energy pudding. The sheer abundance feels like a miracle, a feast delivered from the sky. But the birds are just the opening act. As the snow melts away completely, the tundra floor begins to blush with a faint tentative green. After a diet consisting almost exclusively of meat and fat, this whisper of vegetable life is a profound and welcome change. You graze as you walk, your senses alive to the possibilities underfoot. You find the sharp, tangy leaves of mountain sorrel, a plant that makes your mouth pucker with its sourness, but feels incredibly refreshing. You nibble on the tender young shoots of fireweed. Later in the brief season, the ground will be dotted with crowberries and low-bush blueberries, tiny, intense bursts of sweetness that you greedily devour by the handful. It's not just about the calories. Your body, you sense, craves the different nutrients these plants provide. Ethnobotanists still study the full extent of the Paleo-Arctic diet, but it's clear that these fleeting greens were a vital source of vitamins and minerals. The most curious of these might be the wool from the cotton grass, not eaten for nutrition, but gathered as the absolute best tinder for starting a fire. It's a plant that provides warmth in a more literal way. This brief, glorious summer is a time of frantic, joyous activity hunting, fishing, egging, and gathering. It is a time of flavor, of variety, and of a deep, cellular relief from the monochrome diet of the long winter. The joyous, frantic glut of summer is a beautiful lie. Even as you're popping warm, sweet crowberries into your mouth and feasting on freshly roasted auk, a cold, ancient anxiety begins to creep back into the edges of your mind. The sun, which had climbed so high and seemed so permanent, has begun its long, slow retreat. The days are noticeably shorter. The wind, which had softened into a mere breeze, is starting to regain its familiar biting edge. Every bird that takes flight and heads south is a ticking clock, a reminder that the great green buffet is about to close for the season. You have gorged, you have replenished the depleted reserves in your own body, but now comes the most critical work of all, preparing for the long siege. You must build your sub-zero Stone Age cellar. There's no concept of a rainy day fund here. There's only a 6-month blizzard fund, and the currency is calories. The first and most obvious method of preservation is simply letting the world do the work for you. You are, after all, living in the planet's largest and most reliable freezer. The key is to keep your stores safe from the other hungry residents of the Arctic. A polar bear or a pack of wolverines would consider an unguarded pile of meat a delightful, all-you-can-eat invitation. So you build a cache. With the ground still soft enough to work, you and your family dig a pit. Then you line it with heavy, flat stones, creating a sort of subterranean stone box. As the hunters bring in caribou from their inland migrations or a late-season seal, the meat is portioned and placed inside. Finally, you cover it with a lid of the heaviest stones you can possibly move. It's a simple, brutalist piece of architecture, but it's an effective vault against all but the most determined predator. When the winter deep freeze sets in, the meat inside will be preserved perfectly, locked in a state of suspended animation until you need it. For leaner meats, especially the muscle of the caribou, another method is preferred. You are making the original jerky. On a high exposed ridge where the wind never ceases its assault, a rack has been built from precious driftwood. Thin strips of caribou meat are draped over the poles, a macabre sort of laundry day where the sheets are crimson. The wind is your co-worker in this process. It is relentless and incredibly dry, and it sucks the moisture from the meat with ruthless efficiency. In a surprisingly short amount of time, the soft, pliable muscle becomes hard dirt and almost wood-like. This dried meat, or panza, is a masterpiece of prehistoric engineering. It is incredibly lightweight, making it the perfect food to carry on long hunting trips. It won't freeze solid, so you can gnaw on a piece for energy without having to start a fire. It's not exactly a tender steak, it's more like chewing on a delicious piece of leather, but its concentrated protein is a lifesaver. Then there's the third, more adventurous method of preservation. This one relies not on cold or dryness, but on time and microbes. This is fermentation. You might take the flippers of a walrus, a particularly fatty and sinewy cut, and bury them in a gravelly pit on the beach. You cover them over, mark the spot with a distinctive rock, and then you walk away, for months. Down in the cool, dark earth, a slow, controlled process of decomposition begins. Bacteria, the same kind that will one day be used to make cheese and sourdough bread, go to work on the flesh, breaking it down, tenderizing it, and creating a suite of flavors that are, to put it mildly, intense. Archaeologists still puzzle over whether this practice was an intentional culinary choice from the very beginning, or a happy accident discovered when someone dug up a cache that hadn't frozen properly and decided to eat it anyway. Whatever its origin, it has become a vital part of your diet. When you eventually dig up these parcels, the smell is overwhelming, a pungent, high, funky aroma that would send most modern humans running for the hills. But for you, it is the smell of a well-stocked larder, a tangy, pre-softened, and nutrient-dense food that your body has learned to crave. It's a process that makes tough cuts edible and, strangely enough, unlocks certain nutrients that would otherwise be inaccessible. You have turned the very process of decay into an instrument of survival. Freezing, drying, and fermenting, a three-pronged strategy to ensure that when the great dark returns and the world outside offers nothing but ice and wind, your small, smoky home will still be filled with the security of a full belly. Your stone-lined cellar is a masterpiece of foresight, a buried treasure chest of frozen security. The wind-dried jerky and the pungent fermented flippers offer a profound sense of peace. You have, it seems, conquered the future. But the cellar is for the darkest days, for the times when the world is a sterile, frozen void. The present, however, is still teeming with life, and fresh food is always the preference. The problem is, in this world, not everything on the menu is a passive participant. Some of your potential dinners have very strong, very violent opinions about being eaten. Your pantry is locked, and the guards are armed and dangerous. You're walking along a pressure ridge, a chaotic jumble of ice plates pushed up by the ocean's immense power when you see him. At first, you think it's just a strangely shaped snowdrift. But then the drift raises its head, and a black nose twitches, tasting the air. It's a polar bear, the lord of the Arctic. He is the only animal on the planet that will actively stalk and hunt a human being for food. In this landscape, you are not the apex predator. You are at best middle management, and you've just run into the CEO. He is impossibly large, a mountain of white fur and muscle, and he moves with a silent, fluid grace that is terrifying in a creature of his size. Historians and archaeologists debate whether your people actively sought out these formidable beasts for their meat and magnificent hides, or if most encounters were defensive, a desperate fight for survival that sometimes, if you were lucky, ended with a full larder. Right now, as he turns his head and his small black eyes lock onto yours, you don't care about the academic distinctions. You only know that you are suddenly, terrifyingly on the menu. The hunt, if it happens, is a terrifying ballet of spears, sinew, and raw courage. It is a battle against a creature that can crush your skull with a single, lazy swipe of its paw. But an even greater danger awaits if you are successful. Should you and your hunting party manage to bring down the great white bear, you will have a bounty of meat. But hidden within that meat is an invisible enemy. If you eat the liver, a part of the animal normally prized for its nutrients, you will become violently ill from a massive overdose of vitamin D. Within the muscle, there are tiny, coiled worms, invisible to the naked eye. These are the larvae of a parasite called trichinella, and they are the source of a mysterious and agonizing sickness that can cripple or kill. It's the ultimate cruel joke, the meal that you fought the hardest for, the one that represents the greatest victory, could be the one that kills you slowly from the inside. The danger isn't just on the ice. You take to your skin boat, the umiak, to hunt the walrus. You find them hauled out on a remote beach or an ice floe, a noisy, stinking, blubbery city of immense bodies. They are surprisingly agile in the water and lethally armed. Their long ivory tusks are not just for show. They are formidable weapons used for fighting off bears and for hooking onto the ice. They will not hesitate to use them on you. Approaching a walrus in a boat made of stitched-together sealskin is the Stone Age equivalent of trying to defuse a bomb from a paper bag. A single angry thrust from a tusk can puncture the hull, plunging you into the lethally cold water from which there is no escape. The hunt becomes a chaotic, dangerous dance, with paddlers trying to maneuver the boat while hunters try to land a well-aimed harpoon in a creature that weighs more than 1,000 of your modern pounds and is actively trying to sink you. It's a high-stakes gamble, but the reward mountains of meat, barrels of oil, and the priceless ivory for tools and art is often worth the risk. But like the bear, the walrus carries the hidden threat of trichinosis, so every meal here is a roll of the dice. You don't understand germs or parasites. You only know that sometimes, after a great feast, people get sick. A fever sets in, muscles ache with a deep, burning pain, and a profound weakness takes over. You have no medicine, no understanding of the cause. You can only rely on the strength of your own body and the care of your community. Every bite of food is an act of faith. You are constantly weighing the immediate, desperate need for calories against the potential for a swift, violent death or a slow, invisible one. This is the central bargain of your existence. To eat, you must risk becoming the eaten, not just by the great predators of the ice, but by the silent, microscopic hunters that ride within them. The fear of the hunt, the adrenaline of the fight against the great white bear or the tusked walrus, eventually fades. It is replaced by the deep, resonant hum of a full stomach, but it's a different kind of fullness than you've ever known before. It's not the light, fleeting satisfaction of summer berries or the lean protein of a bird. It is a dense, heavy, and profoundly warming sense of security that seems to radiate from your core, pushing back against the ever-present cold. You have survived the dinner that fights back, and now that dinner is re-engineering you from the inside out. You are learning the single most important lesson of Arctic survival. Meat is the scaffolding of life, but fat is the fire that keeps the house warm. You are beginning to embrace the high-fat life. In the world you came from generations ago, you would have eaten a diet of rich variety roots, grains, fruits, and lean game. Your body was a machine built to run on the quick, easy energy of sugars and carbohydrates. But here, that machine has been starved as familiar fuel. There are no fields of wheat, no orchards, no sugary roots to dig from the frozen ground. For 9 months of the year, the landscape offers nothing but meat, fish, and blubber. Faced with this new reality, your body, this miraculous and adaptable vessel, performs a quiet internal revolution. It has to learn to burn a different kind of fuel. It has to learn to run on pure fat. This process, which future scientists will call ketosis, feels less like a biological function and more like a form of alchemy. Your system, deprived of carbohydrates, learns to take the rich, oily blubber of the seal and the thick, waxy fat of the caribou and transform it into a potent, slow-burning energy source. The first few weeks of this transition might have been grueling, a period of fatigue and fogginess as your internal engine sputtered and retooled. But now, you are on the other side. You have become a highly efficient, fat-burning machine. You discover a new kind of energy, not the frantic, peak and valley rush of sugar, but a steady, enduring stamina. It's a metabolic hum that can power you through a 10-hour, silent vigil at a seal hole without a single dip in your resolve. More than that, your very cravings begin to change. The thought of eating a large, lean piece of caribou muscle on its own starts to seem unappealing, almost incomplete. Your body instinctively knows it needs a partner for that protein. You find yourself reaching for a slice of pure white blubber to eat alongside the dark meat, the way someone in another time and place might reach for a piece of bread. To a modern palate, it would be like eating a spoonful of lard, a greasy and off-putting experience. To you, it is the height of satisfaction. You might even find yourself, on a particularly cold day, simply gnawing on a frozen stick of caribou back fat, feeling the waxy substance melt on your tongue and send a wave of immediate, life-giving warmth through your chest. This isn't just a meal. It's like throwing another log on your internal furnace. Scientists still debate whether the genetic adaptations that allow for processing such immense quantities of fat developed before your ancestors arrived in the Arctic or as a rapid response to the new diet. But for you, the debate is irrelevant. It just works. This reliance on fat even creates its own kind of delicacy. During a rare moment of celebration, perhaps after a particularly successful hunt, the women might prepare a special treat. They take rendered caribou fat or seal oil and whip it endlessly with a bone whisk. As they whip it, they slowly add snow, and the mixture transforms, becoming light, airy, and white, a sort of primordial ice cream. If you're very, very lucky, they might fold in a handful of the precious crowberries that were painstakingly gathered and preserved from the brief summer. The result, a kutak, is a rich, ethereal dish, a cloud of fatty sweetness that melts in your mouth. It's a reminder that even here, in this hard world, there is room for pleasure, but it's a pleasure built on the foundation of your reality, a life where fat is not a villain to be avoided, but the hero of the story, the fuel that powers your body, warms your soul, and makes survival possible. The high-fat life is treating you well. You've become a walk-in furnace, your body perfectly adapted to burning the rich fuel of the Arctic Sea. You have a steady, enduring energy that you've never known before, and yet something is wrong. It's a subtle, creeping ailment. There's an ache in your joints that has nothing to do with the cold. Your gums feel tender, and when you're chewing on a particularly tough piece of dried caribou, You notice a faint coppery taste of blood in your mouth, a profound sense of weariness, a fatigue that sleep doesn't seem to cure, is settling deep into your bones. You are strong, you are well fed, but you are slowly, inexplicably falling apart. You don't know it, but you are suffering from a deficiency, a lack of a nutrient so vital that its absence will unravel your body from the inside out. In the future, it will be called scurvy, the plague of sailors and explorers who travel for months without fresh fruit or vegetables. For you, it is simply a nameless, terrifying weakness. The cure you discover is not found in a new food source, but in changing how you eat the food you already have. You have been taught that cooking meat makes it easier to eat, and a warm meal is a small but potent comfort against the endless cold. But the elders know something more. They know that fire, while a great friend, is also a thief. It can steal the hidden life from the food. The real medicine they teach you is in the raw. It is in the parts of the animal that are often the first to be discarded in other cultures. You learn that when a seal is brought back to camp, the liver, the heart, and the kidneys are the most prized possessions to be eaten immediately, sometimes while still warm. You watch as an experienced hunter slices a piece from the dark, purple liver of a freshly caught seal. He hands it to you. You've had it before, but this time you eat it with a new understanding. The texture is soft, almost creamy, and the flavor is intense, a powerful irony rush that tastes of the deep ocean and of life itself. It's the paleo equivalent of taking a potent multivitamin, a direct, unfiltered injection of iron, vitamin A, and most importantly, the mysterious nutrient your body is screaming for, vitamin C. What you don't know is that most animals, unlike humans, produce their own vitamin C, storing it in their organ tissues. By eating these parts raw, you are absorbing that nutrient before the heat of a fire can destroy it. But the real secret, the true masterstroke of Arctic nutritional science, comes from the caribou. After a long inland hunt, the men have brought down one of these magnificent antlered beasts. As they begin the butchery, one of the elders doesn't go for the prime muscle or the thick layer of back fat. Instead, he carefully makes an incision into the animal's stomach. A greenish, pulpy mass spills out, smelling faintly of grass and fermentation. This is the stomach content, the caribou's last meal. It is a partially digested slurry of lichens, mosses, and ponderosa plants. The caribou's complex digestive system is designed to break down. To a stranger, this would look like waste. To you, it is a garden. The elder scoops some of the greenish mash into a small skin bowl and offers it to you. Hesitantly, you take a bite. The flavor is surprising. It's sour, a little bitter, with a distinctively vegetal, almost grassy taste. It is, in essence, a pre-made salad, with the caribou having done all the hard work of foraging, chewing, and pre-digesting. It's nature's smoothie, and it's packed with the very nutrients your land-based diet lacks. Medical historians and anthropologists still debate the precise combination of foods that allowed early Arctic peoples to completely avoid scurvy, a disease that plagued European sailors for centuries. But for you, the proof is in the eating. Within days of consuming the raw liver and the caribou's stomach contents, the ache in your joints begins to recede. Your gums feel firm again. The deep cellular weariness lifts. You have found the antidote in the most intimate, and to some, the most unappetizing parts of your prey. It's a profound lesson in humility and wisdom, a realization that the animals you hunt are not just a source of calories, but also your chemists, your pharmacists, and your foragers. You have learned the secrets of the Arctic pantry. You know where to find the life-giving vitamins in a caribou's gut and a seal's liver. You understand the profound warming power of a diet built on pure animal fat. But this knowledge is useless, a library of books you can't read, without the key that unlocks it all. You can't just walk up to a whale and ask for a slice of muck duck, nor can you politely request a seal's liver. To get to the food, to process it, to turn a 1,000-pound beast into fuel for your family, you need an extension of your own hands. You need your toolkit. There is no hardware store on the tundra, no online retailer for next-day delivery. Every single item you rely on, from the blade that skins a seal to the needle that stitches your boots, must be conceived in your mind and crafted by your own hands from the three humble materials your world provides: stone, bone, and wood. Let's start with the kitchen. At the center of all food preparation is a tool of such elegant simplicity and profound effectiveness that its design has remained virtually unchanged for thousands of years. It is the ulu, the woman's knife. You hold it in your hand. It doesn't have a handle that sticks out from the blade, like the knives of the future. Instead, the handle, a smooth, comfortable piece of bone or muskox horn, is mounted directly on the back of the crescent-shaped blade. This design allows you to put pressure directly down onto whatever you're cutting, using the strength of your shoulder and your own body weight. It's an ergonomic masterpiece born of necessity. You use it for everything. Remember the great whale harvest? The ulu was there, its wide blade slicing through blubber with surprising ease. You use it to skin a seal, the curved blade a perfect shape for following the contours of the body. You use it to join a caribou, to fillet an Arctic char, and to chop frozen meat into bite-sized, thawable pieces. It's the original food processor, slicer, dicer, and chopper all in one, no electricity required. Now, for the tool that brings the food home, the harpoon. This is not just a spear. A spear is a simple, dumb piece of technology. You throw it, it pokes a hole, and it hopefully stays in. The harpoon is a work of genius, a complex system designed specifically for hunting sea mammals. The shaft is made of driftwood, a material more precious than gold, carried across the ocean from some distant forested land. The business end, however, is where the magic lies. The point is a sharp, barbed head carved from walrus ivory or ground from slate. This head is not permanently fixed to the shaft. It sits loosely in a socket, and it's attached to a long, incredibly strong line of braided seal or walrus hide. You throw the harpoon, and the sharp point penetrates the thick layer of skin and blubber. The moment the animal thrashes and pulls, the point detaches from the shaft. This is the crucial part. The head is designed to toggle to turn sideways beneath the skin, locking itself under the blubber layer like a modern anchor. The shaft floats away to be retrieved later. Now the animal is no longer fighting you. It's fighting the line, which is connected directly to you, your boat, or a float made from an inflated sealskin. Archaeologists still trace the lineage of your harpoon head, arguing whether its design was a sudden, revolutionary invention or the result of 1,000 tiny tweaks over generations of trial and error. All you know is that this brilliant little toggling mechanism is the single most important invention in your world. The technology that allows you, a small, land-based mammal, to successfully hunt the giants of the sea. Making these tools is an art form. You learn to read stone, to see the knife hidden inside a piece of flint. You spend countless hours practicing flint knapping, striking the stone with a piece of antler in just the right spot to flake off a razor-sharp edge. For tougher stones like slate, you don't chip, you grind. You sit for days, patiently rubbing a rough-cut blade against a larger, abrasive sandstone slab, using sand and water as a slurry until a perfect keen edge emerges. To drill holes in the bone handles and the ivory harpoon heads, You use a bow drill. It's a simple, elegant machine, a stick tipped with a stone bit, which you spin at high speed by moving a small bow back and forth, its string wrapped around the drill shaft. It's a slow, hypnotic process, but it gives you the precision you need. This toolkit is more than just a collection of objects. It is a physical library of your accumulated knowledge, a testament to your ability to shape this unforgiving world to your needs. The intricate, sacred dance of sharing is a beautiful thing to behold when the hunters are successful. It is a system built on the assumption of eventual abundance, a belief that what is given away today will be returned tomorrow when another's luck is better than your own. It is a finely tuned engine of community, oiled by mutual respect and a deep spiritual understanding. But every engine, no matter how well designed, can run out of fuel. The rules work perfectly when there is something to divide. They become a silent, screaming mockery when there is nothing. The ice, it seems, has decided to give nothing. The animals, for reasons you can only guess at a shift in the currents, a change in the weather, or perhaps your own community's failure to show the proper respect, have vanished. They have not just moved. It feels as if they have been erased from the world. The first casualty is the sound. The boisterous, happy noise of the camp fades away. The children, usually a tumbling, laughing knot of energy, become quiet and listless. There's no joyous shouting to announce the return of a successful hunter from the ice. There's only a slow, trudging figure on the horizon, his shoulders slumped in a posture of universal defeat. The second casualty is the light. The seal oil lamps, which once burned brightly, a cheerful defiance against the polar night, are now kept at the lowest possible flicker to conserve the last precious drops of fuel. Your home is cast in a deep, perpetual twilight, the shadows in the corners growing larger and more menacing. The world shrinks to the size of your sleeping platform. Hunger is no longer the familiar temporary ache you've known your whole life. It has evolved into something else entirely. It is a cold, heavy presence that sits in the pit of your stomach, a physical entity that is slowly, methodically consuming you from the inside out. You move with a deliberate slowness, conserving every single calorie. Your thoughts become sluggish, circling around the single, obsessive subject of food. You dream of the great whale feast, of the rich, melting texture of muktuk, of the hot, life-giving blood of a fresh kill. You wake up to the cold, gnawing reality of an empty stomach in a silent house. The community stores are gone. The frozen meat cache, your buried treasure chest, is empty. The last piece of Wayne-dried caribou was chewed into nothingness weeks ago. Now you turn to the things that were never meant to be food. This is the ultimate unwilling fast, and there's no celebrity-endorsed cleanse for this. You find yourself taking the scraps of sealskin left over from making boots, and you boil them for hours, trying to extract the last vestige of fat and protein, creating a thin, greasy, and foul-tasting broth. It's not food, but it's warm, and it fills your belly for a little while. You gnaw on the edges of your own fur clothing, the taste of old sweat, and grease a phantom memory of a better time. It's a strange and desperate act, literally consuming your own protection against the elements. This is when the social fabric, woven so tightly by the rules of sharing, begins to fray. Eyes that once met with warmth and trust now slide away, or hold a flicker of desperate calculation. When one family manages to catch a single scrawny fish through the ice, they share it. Of course, the rules are too deeply ingrained to abandon completely, but the portions are heartbreakingly small, and the act is performed with a grim, joyless sense of duty. The tension is a palpable, living thing in the small, smoky dwellings. The beautiful engine of community is seizing up. And in the darkest corners of this desperation, the ultimate taboo whispers. What happens when the ice gives nothing, when the sealskin is boiled to mush, when the last bone has been cracked and sucked dry? What happens when the only source of meat left is each other? Historians and archaeologists still argue, with a great deal of caution and respect, about the grim reality of survival cannibalism in the ancient Arctic. The evidence is sparse and controversial: human bones found in a cooking pit, strange cut marks on a skull. Was it a rare last resort ritual, or a more common unspoken horror? For you, huddled in the dimming light, hearing the weak cry of a neighbor's child, the question is not academic. It is the final, unthinkable line. It is the point at which you cease to be a community and become mere starving animals. You look at the faces of your family, people you have loved and protected your entire life, and you push the thought away, ashamed and terrified. But the thought is there, a ghost in the back of your mind, a testament to how far a human being can be pushed when the ice gives nothing. But you don't cross that final, unthinkable line. You don't have to, because just as the last of the light and hope seems to flicker out, the sun returns. And with the sun come the birds. It's the same glorious, chaotic invasion you witnessed last summer, but this time you see it through different eyes. The memory of the great starvation is a fresh, raw wound. The joyous sound of the returning ox and mers is not just the sound of a feast. It's the sound of a reprieve, a stay of execution. Last year, you ate the birds and their eggs with the simple, immediate pleasure of a full belly. This year, every bird you see is a painful reminder of how fleeting this abundance is. You cannot, you will not, face another winter with an empty larder. The freezer caches and the wing-dried jerky are good, but you need more. You need a way to capture the entire essence of this summer bounty and lock it away for the darkest days. This is where you learn to make a dish of such profound strangeness, such challenging funk, that it stands as a monument to human ingenuity and olfactory courage. You are going to make kiviak. Remember the fermented walrus flippers buried in the gravel to be tenderized by time and microbes? This is that concept's final, glorious, and slightly terrifying evolution. The process begins with the hunt. But you're not just after a few birds for dinner. You need hundreds. You and a team of hunters go to the great seabird cliffs, where the little auks, or devakis, nest in the tens of thousands. With long-handled nets, you swoop and snatch the birds out of the air as they swarm, a chaotic, feathered blizzard. The goal is to catch as many as possible, as quickly as possible, a massive, overwhelming harvest. Next, you need a container. And in your world, the best containers are the ones you can also eat. A large seal is hunted and brought back to camp. It is skinned with the utmost care. The meat and bones are removed through a small incision, but the skin is kept whole, like a great, blubbery water bottle. A thick layer of the fat is left attached to the inside of the hide. This isn't just for flavor. The fat is a crucial part of the process, a natural sealant that will make the container airtight. Now, the stuffing begins. You take the little ox one by one, and you push them into the sealskin. You don't pluck them. You don't gut them. They go in whole feathers, beak, bones, and all. You stuff and stuff, pushing them down, packing them in tightly, trying to get every last pocket of air out. A single sealskin can hold 3, 4, even 500 of the small birds. It's the world's most bizarre and labor-intensive sausage. Once it's full to bursting, you sew the incision shut with strong sinew. To ensure a perfect seal, the final step is to plaster the seam with a thick layer of seal grease, which will harden and create an impenetrable barrier. Now you have a large, greasy, bird-stuffed sealskin sack. You haul it to a special place, a sheltered spot away from the main camp, and you place it under a massive pile of stones. The weight of the rocks serves two purposes. It helps to press out any remaining air, and it protects your precious creation from the ever-present threat of scavenging polar bears and Arctic foxes. And then you walk away. For 3, 4, sometimes up to 7 months, you let it sit. Beneath the rocks and the cool, dark earth, a magical microbial transformation takes place. The bird's own gut bacteria and the enzymes from the seal blubber begin to break down the flesh, fermenting it, pickling it, turning it into something entirely new. Winter has returned. The darkness is back. The stores are holding up, but a craving for a different taste, a special treat, sets in. It is time to open the kiviak. The mound of stones is removed and the seal skin is retrieved. The moment you cut the seam, the air is filled with an aroma so powerful, so pungent, it's a physical presence. It's a smell that combines the ammonia of a very, very strong cheese with the deep, gamey funk of aged meat. To an outsider, it would be an assault. To you, it is the smell of a winter delicacy. The birds are pulled out. They are soft, almost gelatinous. You peel back the skin and feathers to reveal the fermented flesh beneath, which is dark and has the consistency of a thick paste. You eat it directly from the bone. The intense, cheesy flavor of the fermented auk lingers on your palate, a taste that feels as ancient as the rocks themselves. It is the flavor of pure, unadulterated survival, a testament to a pact made between hunger and ingenuity. As you sit in the quiet of the winter dwelling, you feel a strange sense of dislocation, as if time itself is becoming thin. The flickering light of the seal oil lamp seems to waver, and the familiar smoky smell of burnt fat and fur is replaced by something else. The faint, sharp scent of gasoline and the distant whine of a two-stroke engine. The walls of your semi-subterranean home dissolve, and you find yourself standing on a gravel shore under a modern Arctic sky, a sky crisscrossed by the occasional vapor trail of an airplane. Your long journey through time is ending, but the story of this food is not. You are now a witness to the profound and enduring legacy of everything you've learned. The hunt is still the absolute heart of life here, but the tools have evolved. A hunter speeds across the sea ice not on a sled pulled by a fan of powerful dogs, but on a snowmobile, a roaring mechanical beast that eats fuel instead of fish. He carries not a harpoon carved from driftwood and ivory, but a high-powered rifle with a telescopic sight that can reach across vast distances. Yet, when he finds a seal at its breathing hole, the same ancient stillness descends. The same profound patience you once mastered is required. And when he brings his catch home to the community, the same timeless ritual of sharing begins, a sacred mathematics of kinship that has not changed in millennia. You see families gathering for a feast, and laid out on a piece of clean cardboard on the living room floor is the prize, a platter of freshly sliced muktuk. It's the same chewy, nutty, vitamin-rich whale skin you tasted on that beach so long ago, a direct, unbroken line connecting the distant past to this very moment. You see how these ancient flavors persist, how they are woven into the very fabric of modern Inuit identity. Children still chew on tough, wind-dried caribou jerky pansa as an after-school snack, a healthier and more meaningful alternative to a bag of chips. At community celebrations, you see huge pots of caribou stew warming the crowd, and elders sharing the delicate, smoked flesh of an Arctic char. Its pink meat a taste of pure, cold water. You even see the evolution of sharing in this new world. A successful hunter might post a picture of his catch on a community Facebook group with a simple caption, "Got 2 good caribou out by the river. Come by my place if you need some." It's the ancient network of obligation and generosity, now running on fiber optics and social media. These aren't just foods. They are country foods, a term that holds a universe of meaning. It speaks of culture, of health, of a connection to the land that is both spiritual and deeply physical. But you also see the new challenges, the modern threats that are, in their own way, as dangerous as a polar bear or a failed hunt. The ice, the very foundation of this life, is becoming thinner and less reliable, a subject of worried conversation as climate change alters the ancient predictable patterns. Scientists and community elders continue to debate the long-term impacts of invisible contaminants from the industrialized South that travel on ocean currents and settle in the fatty tissues of the very animals that provide so much life. And in the corner of the small, brightly lit co-op store, you see the seductive glow of shelves packed with processed foods, soda, chips, sugary cereals. They offer a cheap, easy hit of calories, but they are a poor substitute for the nutrient-dense power of a traditional diet, bringing with them a host of new health problems your ancestors never could have imagined. This is the great paradox of the modern Arctic plate, a world where one can be simultaneously overfed and profoundly undernourished. The life-saving fat that once fueled a people is now in a quiet battle with the processed sugars that threaten them. Your journey began with a desperate frozen bite on a windswept land bridge. You have felt the gnawing emptiness of starvation and the profound security of a whale harvest. And now you see that this is not just history. It is a living, breathing, and evolving story of resilience, a testament to the incredible ability of a people to build a rich and vibrant culture in the most demanding kitchen on earth. Now, as the final images of this long journey begin to fade, let your own mind drift. The sharp wind softens, the crunch of ice underfoot dissolves into the gentle rustle of your own blankets. The intense, vital flavors of fat and flesh give way to the simple, clean taste of the air in your room. Feel the deep, bone-weary exhaustion of the hunt release its grip, replaced by a pleasant, heavy-limbed sense of calm. All the anxieties of the past, the fear of the endless night, the gnawing worry of an empty larder, are just echoes now, stories that belong to another time, another you. The struggle is over. The great hunt is done for the night, and the larder of your mind is full. You have traveled to the very edge of human endurance and have returned to the comfort and absolute security of your own bed. The world outside your window is quiet, and you are safe. There are no dangers to face, no vital tasks to complete. There's only the slow, easy rhythm of your own breathing, a gentle tide pulling you out into the deep, peaceful waters of sleep. The journey is complete. Let the story settle, let the lessons dissolve, and allow yourself to rest in the quiet knowledge that you are home, you are warm, and you are profoundly, deeply at peace.